Alright, so I had an idea while I was drawing, and it's something that I've been wanting to do since I opened up my YouTube account. Um, I'm actually doing just some restoration for some of my pastel drawings that are going in the art gallery. One second. Um, and I kind of wanted people to see the process that I go through whenever I use my pastels, because I don't know the proper way to do it, and I've already started, so I'm all different colors today. Um, and you'll kind of see why whenever um, I point the camera down to the drawing that I've already started restoring. But I have two more to do, so this will be a rather long video because I'll try to keep it all at the same time. But it's messy, it's fun, it's what I do. But this is just some restoration today because pastel fades, and I did not have a fixative on these drawings, unfortunately, whenever I first made them. So this is me fixing what should not have ever been messed up in the first place. Put the camera down. Alright, I understand you probably can't see it real well. It's not really the image itself that's important, but like here it is. And this is one that's going to be in the gallery this coming week. Alright, so let me go ahead and start in on it. And I realize I'm using my right arm, which I cannot tell you how much this hurts right now, but it does. Just because my left hand doesn't have these fine-tuned muscles yet, because I have to be very, very careful not to smudge in the wrong area, because I have so many different pigments that are actually already on my skin. And yeah, I'm still in pajamas today. Let's see. What I'm doing right now is I'd already taken a pastel and put my design on the paper, and I'm just taking my finger and smoothing it out to where it doesn't look so rough, and it'll blend in with the rest of the paper, or the rest of the, pigment that's already on here. The one I have right here is called the eye, and I call it that. It's almost a self-portrait, of course in the abstract sense, because it's how I kind of view myself. And I had put my design on everything because it's mine. It reflects me, and I really, really love it. So it's in the pupil of my eye. It's surrounding the iris. It's surrounding the eye itself. It's me. It's put in everything that I have, or most of it at least. There's one that I'll be restoring here in a second that doesn't have my design on it. That one I was experimenting with different colors, the highlights, and movement itself, which I do a lot of, if you'll notice. And it's one of the original drawings that I did with my pastels. What I'm doing on these corners right here is kind of fading it out to a lighter yellow. And just for aesthetic purposes, there's no real reason behind that part. It's, to make it a little bit more interesting looking. Let's see. So that's how I originally had it, but then I had to redo the base color that I have on this outside corners. So I have to redo the yellow that was already there. There we go. Alright, so this one I'm actually calling done. Whenever I finish these other two, I'll put my fixative on there, which will pretty much just hold that color in place. You can see it. It's I like a very smooth look to it. This one's I made a little bit rougher on purpose, and you can see through the bottom color, and that was kind of, you know, show through. I wanted it to show through. It has a very raw look to it, in my opinion, which I can be very raw at times. So I'm just going to set this aside and pull out contrasting movement. And I'll refer to them as their title that I've given them. Yeah, my hands are all green, so actually I'm just going to go rinse them off real quick. I'm back. I'm still slightly discolored, but not to the point where it will affect the color on here. So I'm going to start this because this is actually many layers of color. I'm just going to edit each highlight or low light, depending, excuse me, on what it is. Because this is the pastel set that I'm using. And that's what I used for this. Let's see. This is one of the low lights that I used on it. So I'm just going to try to go through. And what I'll usually do is I'll hold it at the edges. And then, see. Just looking for any other spots that I used this to where it's messed up now. Or faded. This is essentially just making the colors a bit more vibrant. Especially since the title is Contrasting Movement, I want, you know, people to be able to see that contrast a bit better. There we go. And I'm not going to smudge it yet because there's a lot of other colors I want to fix before I smudge it in. Maybe some people are wondering, well, doesn't this change the original look of the piece? Sometimes it does. Like if I've got the wrong color or, you know, just various reasons. And sometimes I don't even remember what it originally looked like, unless I have like a picture of it. So sometimes they will look a bit different, but their overall look will be the same. Just gonna use this one. It's also funny to see like the little mess ups that I made when it was originally done, and kind of, you know, knowing I would have drawn it differently now to make those little mess ups better. Which, that's something that I can go through and fix now. Because as I said, this was one of my originals with this pastel set. I've drawn many more since then. And this is an 80-piece demi or semi or whatever you want to call it set. So it means it's 80 colors of half pieces. I bought it to try it out. Because before this set, I was using the cheap Walmart stuff. That had 12 different colors, no purple, which was highly upsetting whenever you're doing something with blue. It's like, oh, I don't have purple. So what do I do here? And then you're like, oh, just mix, red and blue. But that doesn't always work when you're using pastels for one, and cheap Walmart colors for second. It's not always a, viable option. Let's get some of this darker color over here fixed. I remember using this one. I loved how dark this one came out. I only used it in a couple spots throughout because it was so dark. Let's see. And what I'll actually end up having to do with this one that I just used is there's another lighter color that I went over it because it's a really, really dark brown. And I'll actually go over it with a lighter color to kind of tone it down a little bit because it went overboard with it. I'll do that trying to get my perfect color because I still want it to match. My nose is itchy, so I know I just itched my nose just now, but I don't think I got any color on it. Typically what I'll do on accident, almost every single time, is I'll itch my nose or some part of my face while drawing, and it will have a nice color streak down my face. One time I had the mustache look, and I just realized the camera's not putting it in my face, so you didn't see that head motion. Let's see, put this over here as well. I think I'd originally had named this my brown tentacles, but then I ended up not liking that name. It wasn't quite as, it didn't fit right, so I ended up changing it to contrasting movement because that matched the character that I wanted to, portray with it. See, here it is. And I'll start getting some of my lighter colors in here now. And what I've actually done is put a lot of the highlights next to a low light to show that, as I keep saying, the contrast, is very important to me. That's one of my favorite elements of art. So there's this really dark blue color that I'm trying to make sure I get the right one. Because I should put a couple, it's like this blue-green. It's really dark and kind of subtle, but it looks really well. It's kind of grayish as well. So like this right here is it. Yeah. Yeah, this is it. And what you see when I'm wiping it on my hand is there's other pigments that have stuck to it. So I'll rub it against my hand to get that other pigment off of it. So that's actually all I wanted with that. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I'm wiping off most of the loose pigment off my hands so that even though my hands are still colored, it's not, as much as, say this one right here. So actually I'll wipe this one off on this arm so I can keep holding it on the edges. And I'll actually take my finger and I'm going to start smudging and smoothing everything out. And then what you'll start to notice is a buildup of color over here because I'll use this hand to rub the color off of that builds up on this finger. So what's happening is that over here it'll blend in with the color that's already on the page. But it still sits on top for the most part. Alright. Well, that actually blended in with it fairly well. What I'm going to do now is tap off the dust that builds up. It's going to be fun going to work later because I'm probably still going to have streaks on my skin. Especially since I'm rubbing in this really dark brown. I want to make sure that doesn't contaminate the rest of it. I can feel my shoulder tensing up. My left one's a little bit mad at me, but not nearly to the extent, am I right? There we go, that's pretty. I should do photo shoots with my arms afterward. Or like between drawings because of how they look. Be a sight to see. Well, that red I used did really well. This is a very, meticulous process. And one day I'll have to do a drawing from start to finish on video to kind of show people the very, very meticulous process that I'll go through to get those perfect colors, for, in my opinion. So, usually I do this with music, but for copyright reasons, I thought that would be obnoxious. Plus, then you wouldn't be able to hear me talk. This is just tapping off the excess right there again. I think what I'm going to do with this one, just because the amount of wear on the edges over here, is I might crop off like half a centimeter. Because of me holding down the edge, it's so worn on that part that I don't know if I'd be able to recover it. Alright, so here it is, brought back to life. Here's my contrasting movement. And then I might actually take a break with an ice pack or a heating pack to my arm. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, okay?